What is up, folks? Welcome to the latest episode of the Harold McBasketball Show. I am Harold McBasketball reporting from our new Austin studio, and my co-host I Know Ball Paul is right here with a freshly shaven head and mustache. Paul, how are you doing?
Man, after the last video, which broke Harold McBasketball records on every front, I think it's nearly at 600 views. I think there are five or six new subscribers, some new Harold McBasketballers. The comments were going crazy. I was replying. People were shaming us, but there were some good interactions. But there was a Raptors fan who I had some exchanges with who ended up being chill, but he was upset that I didn't know some of the deeper players on the roster. The people, had comments about the Atlanta thing, Boston being ranked. Anyways, I'm ecstatic with how that last video did. I'm over the moon, so I'm excited and hoping that we can have another big hit on our hands.
Yeah, shout out all of the Harold McBasketballers for that one. Definitely our biggest hit yet. Shout out to the hate comments. We love them. We want more. And I love when the comment place is used as a kind of like a place for dialogue,
Yeah.
where it's like you can give your own takes, we can give additional takes back. It's awesome. It's like a little forum outside of the podcast. So feel free to use it. If someone else is giving a comment and you disagree with it, feel free to like comment on top of their comment, make it a forum, and yeah, have some fun basketball discussions in there. That's what it's all about. Yeah, just keep it PG, of course.
But no,
Uh,
that's my dream for the channel. It's like we don't need a huge community, but if there's like 10 comments that I can reply to, and by the way, I'm the one replying, so I guess feel free to leave hate comments towards Harry, but just know that I'll be usually the one responding to them. So yeah, keep that in mind, I guess.
Yeah, Paul is very courteous. I would probably just reply with like, "Psh, you don't know ball, get out of here." But Paul is far more courteous and is really gives like in-depth responses. And if I'm called out directly, I'll do a little bit more to respond on those. But
I'll give you the password if
yeah, give me the reins if needed for that. But I think for the most part, you handle those really well, and those are really fun. So yeah, shout out those guys. I love when people kind of know a ton about their team like that. As far as like basketball news go, I mean, like EuroLeague's been like kind of awesome. I know Paul's hype about that. Obviously, he's been living in France now for the better part of a year, so he's going to give us like a little bit of info on that. We're going to talk a little bit about the Kawhi Leonard scandal that has been taking over the news. Shout out to Pablo Torre for that. It's been super popular. And then we're going to do our long-awaited Western Conference power rankings prior to the season, which we're excited about. I kind of realized that the West is also really difficult because there are so many teams that were squished together, kind of that like 3 to 10 seed range. So that's gonna be a fun one to rank.
yeah, yeah, it was tough to rank, and things are open to change. It's kind of our standing slash power rankings. But yeah, first we wanted to touch on the EuroBasket. I mean, not a ton to say. It's over now. Turkey defeated. No, no, no. Sorry, Germany defeated Turkey, led by the MVP Dennis Schroeder. You had Franz Wagner, who had a great tournament. Fans pointing out he still had a bit of a hitch in his jump shot, but he still played amazingly. Tristan da Silva is German, apparently. The Magic sharpshooter had a good tournament, and then they have some other great EuroLeague players. Daniel Tice, of course, who I have seen in the flesh a few times, had a great tournament. So yeah, the Germans are back-to-back champs, narrowly defeating Alperen Sengun, who had an incredible tournament. The semis, Turkey versus Greece, just a historic rivalry between those two nations. There was a live of Giannis getting pissed at people sending the Turkish flag. There's some, crazy historical beef between those two nations. Turkey destroyed them. But yeah, they came up short. Shane Larkin, Shetty Osman, they have some center that's sick, but ultimately Alperen Sengun was just fantastic. And we'll talk about the Rockets and what I expect from him. Not much else, I guess. France, kind of a disappointing tournament. Sarr got hurt. I don't think it's too serious, but Wemby didn't play, so it was kind of the Risa Shea, Koulibaly, Yabusele show, and they were all right, but they lost to Georgia, led by like Mamu and Batadze. So yeah, the Finland was the other team in the semis. They have this young guy. I wrote his name down. I forget it though. Mika Murinen. He's like this 18-year-old, incredible, probably a future NBA player. And Lauri Markkanen also had an incredible tournament. So anyway, that's been fun. I caught like two games, but the highlights, and I was keeping track of all the live games. So that's that.
That's our EuroLeague talk. That's our EuroLeague expert. Thank you, Paul.
It's EuroBasket. It's not EuroLeague, Harry.
Sorry. I have very few thoughts on it. I did not follow it very closely, but I did think it was really cool, kind of like looking at the rosters and just being like, oh, like Chetty Osman's playing for Turkey. Like that's kind of interesting. Um, and also like Shane Larkin, who'd been like dominating Euroball, several time MVP, I think, over there. Kind of a pedestrian 13 points in the finals. Like I don't know if that's the new standard for him now. Is he potentially washed as a Euro baller? I
I
don't
think
know,
I think he
but
had nine
this is my
assists.
hot take.
I think
Yeah,
he
but like that's kind of a sign of like a slowing down guy where he can't take over anymore. He's probably just getting those assists on the back of giving to Sengun down low and him doing all the work. Like, are these real assists or are these like made up NBA assists where it's like they pass it, the guy makes takes three dribbles, makes a move, scores, and just counts in as an assist because the other guy's the point guard and pass it to him. Like, I don't really know, but they lost and 13 points feels like it wasn't enough. Yeah. I feel like we need some help for Shangun out there. Even though I do think Osman dropped like 23 or something, so he was kind of cooking. But
They have Korkmaz, I think. Uh,
wow, Furkan Korkmaz. I kind of thought he was gonna be good coming out of coming out of the draft. He was not. He was not. But he did like a smooth jumper on that guy though.
and I don't know. They have some center who's not an NBA player, but
I thought they had a. Did they have Adam Bona or was it another team? I think I saw
no,
him on
that.
one of the
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
rosters.
Yeah, I think he plays for Turkey. Yeah,
Which is
they totally
insane.
do
Which
have
yeah,
Adam.
he was on Turkey and he was
They also have
I
Yurtseven.
interesting. Yeah, yeah, I know you're seven. I remember. Yeah, fascinating. All right.
So
That's
that's NBA
Euroball.
talent.
And
Yeah.
there's some. It's super interesting just to see like where people kind of like end up playing for because like not all of them are actually born there. They just have like some kind of connection. So they just decide to play for that team. And like Turkey just got an absolutely stacked team. So surprised they couldn't do it against Germany, but obviously Schroeder, dominant in Euroball. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah, no, he turns into a different player. I think back-to-back MVP had the game winning shot basically, not a buzzer beater, but to take like a 5-point lead. And
Yeah.
he,
Well, as I say, we'll talk about Schroeder again, like at the way end of this video when we get to the
yeah,
bottom of the Western Conference, because he's
fourth
on a new
teammate.
team now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's about it. So I don't know the Kawhi situation. We can transition into that. I mean, you can talk about it. I don't think either of us have too much to say. I mean, I'm just blown away by this guy, Pablo, and his investigative reporting. It seems that there is legitimate fraud and cap circumvention that went on. So I don't know, allegedly. Um, and yeah, I don't really know what to make of it until we see how I guess Adam Silver deals with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess for those who don't know, essentially what it was is um, the Clippers owner, Steve Ballmer, who's obviously like an insane billionaire, like top 10 richest people, probably by far the richest owner in the NBA. He essentially was funding this company called Aspiration. He wasn't funding, but like he did like give them a bunch of money. They were a Clippers sponsor. They were kind of affiliated. And this company then gave Kawhi Leonard like a $50 million endorsement deal that Kawhi Leonard never actually had to do any advertisements for. So he essentially just gave him the money that Steve Ballmer gave that company is what it feels like. It seems like it may have just been a way to like wash the money and give Kawhi Leonard money outside of the contract that the Clippers could give him. So obviously there's cap rules, so hence the cap circumvention by doing this. So that's how it looks. Yeah, it was great reporting by Pablo. Kind of like the counter argument is that would Steve Ballmer let this company go bankrupt if he was using it as like a like as a way to essentially like launder money and to give it to Kawhi? Like maybe not. That's kind of the counter argument, but I don't know. It definitely all seems possible. Like there's clearly a lot of smoke there, and that's kind of the idea. It's like where there's smoke, there's usually fire. It doesn't really make any sense for this company that essentially went bankrupt to give Kawhi Leonard all this money and not even have him actually do any deals. And the Steve Ballmer investment is really weird. So it is odd. We'll kind of like wait and see what comes of it. It does seem like the Clippers should be expecting some kind of penalty, but nothing to the extent of like Steve Ballmer having to sell the team because, like, by all accounts, he's still a great owner, doing a ton for the Clippers and the NBA. But it is super odd. It's a very strange situation.
No, it definitely is, and it seems that Kawhi's agent is a bit shady.
Yeah, Uncle Dennis, I think
Yeah,
it was literally like not even an actual agent. He's literally just Kawhi's uncle. And there were reports of when Kawhi was a free agent, and he was kind of like looking at the Clippers and other teams that Uncle Dennis was asking for teams, for additional money outside of the contract. Essentially, he was asking for a way to circumvent the cap during those conversations. So that's just another additional note that kind of leads us this idea that this was fully intentional by the Clippers to get Kawhi that additional money.
right. Including, I think, ownership stake and other in the Maple Leaves, I think, and then some other stuff.
Yeah,
It's kind of
so weird.
yeah, it's called into question a lot of Kawhi's career. It's kind of started. People are asking. I think Jalen Brunson's name gets brought up a bit, and basically all these guys accepting less money than maybe they were worth. So anyway,
Yeah, and like there are some known things of this happening in like apparently there's kind of like a Adam Silver would turn a blind eye to things like certain superstars be giving like additional privileges by the owners. So maybe it's not actually like additional money they get, but it's, oh yeah, you can take my private jet to this private island whenever you want and like, have these all like additional benefits, use these kind of things that would like cost a player like thousands, if not like millions of dollars in like additional expenses that they kind of get for free for ownership. Bill Simmons mentioned like this was ages ago with Tom Brady, but like Tom Brady would take less money, but the deal would be that the owner Kraft would then essentially invest in his businesses on the side.
Hmm.
So like Brady would take less money, but then Kraft would then invest $10 million in Brady's side hustle, which is like technically legal, but probably should be considered a circumvention of the cap. So there are a bunch of like ways around these cap restrictions right now in the NBA, but obviously this is all getting a lot crazier now with the second apron coming into play because teams are more restricted than ever with the cap. Like all of a sudden, the NBA is effectively working with a hard cap. So it does feel like the NBA may need to crack down a little bit more to enforce these rules since it's something that teams will turn to if they can now that the cap is essentially solidified.
Right. Yeah, and that makes me wonder if I don't know the second apron. It's
The
still
second
kind of,
apron's dumb. It sucks. The second apron made no sense.
we're
Horrible
in.
CBA agreement. McCollum is an awful president. I don't know how he allowed this to happen. NBA players are getting less money because of it. It's messing up the league. Homegrown teams are being broken up because of it. It's awful. It sucks.
We're in the early stages of it. I mean, we're in the parity golden age of the NBA, but yeah, I'm kind of the mindset that, obviously circumventing the cap is shitty and I hate that. But, you kind of don't want to create the environment to make that, if you set it up the way it is and make it so there's so many restrictions on signing guys, you're kind of creating uh the what I don't know the word I'm looking for, but you're creating the environment. You're setting the table
Totally.
for it to
Yeah. And,
happen
and
more.
And ultimately, if teams are trying to circumvent the cap to pay these players more money, it means these players are worth more money. And by having this hard cap, players are getting less money than they deserve. It's more money for owners by having that hard cap. But there are owners out there who want to pay these players more and are literally not being allowed to. So, like, for the sake of empowerment, they should be clearly paid more. Probably means there should be a soft cap. NBA would be very interesting with no cap. I get why they wouldn't do that, but it feels like the second apron was the wrong thing to do. And essentially is doing less for NBA empowerment, player empowerment. They're getting less money as a result, and now we're running into these cap circumvention issues, which might just become even more common because of this second apron.
Yeah, and depending on how it's punished, that'll definitely be telling. But
Yeah, and it feels like the NBA probably will go for like a slightly heavier punishment as a way to be like, I know a lot of teams want to circumvent the cap now because of the second apron. This is why you shouldn't. I've heard speculation they might lose like a first rounder. Obviously, that's early. That's just kind of what people think makes sense. I could see that happening though, which would be like a pretty heavy price to pay, especially for a Clippers team that does not have a whole lot of first round picks.
that is true. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see ultimately.
Yep.
But yeah, the
Well,
restricted free agency has been crazy too this year with um, the restricted free agents basically having no options, and we're seeing them, deals still not done.
yeah, the middle class has been like snuffed out. It was like the superstars
Yeah,
like are still getting their max contracts, but because there's a hard cap and there's like a max for these contracts, essentially the best players are getting their super maxes. Everybody else, there's only like a small allotted pool left. So teams are going for their max contract players. They're going for their like cheap deal players or veteran minimum players. And this middle class of players who used to be eligible to get like somewhere between like 20 and 30 million, that's gone now. We've contracts like Quickly's contract that we talked about last time. That made a lot of sense a couple of years ago, but now with the hard cap, it's like, wow, this sucks now. Like, having anybody in that like 20 to 30 million dollar range is really crippling unless they're a good value like Derek White. So it really has killed that middle class. And it's a shame. Those are the players that are getting hurt the worst.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, should we just hop into the standings power rankings? Is there any?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, no, let's do it. Should we start at two?
Should we start at two? Uh, yeah, I mean, I didn't have a crazy Hawks kind of take for the West. To clearly touch on that, I don't think they're going to finish first in the East, but I do think they're the best team in the East. Okay, so that was kind of the power ranking aspect of it. But I think the Cavs are going to have the best record. Anyway, I think the Thunder are going to be the best team and have the best record. So, top of the standings, and I would put them number one in power rankings.
Yeah, it's a no doubter. There's nothing to talk about here. And I think the only thing to note that's gonna be different from last year is that they now have Topic. Topic might low-key be awesome. I think they took him towards like the back end of the lottery last year, but he was supposed to be like a top five pick if he hadn't torn his ACL going into the draft. But by all accounts, like he still looks really good. He's not really a player who relied on his athleticism here. He's kind of just your classic EuroLeague crafty guard. He's also really tall, though. He's like 6'6", I think. So I'm interested to see him play. I think he could kind of just be nasty immediately and just make the Thunder super OP. Don't really know though. He's coming off an ACL tear. He's young. Who knows? But I'm watching him. That's kind of what I think is interesting about the Thunder this year.
Go back and watch our redraft video last year, or our draft analysis. I forget what it's called. I had Topic like third or fourth. I had him super high. Nobody was talking about him, but I know ball Paul. Um,
That's our EuroLeague expert. Not everyone's boots on the ground like you are, Paul. You're seeing these guys in person. You're shaking their hands. You get it.
I am, yeah. And yeah, Topic had the ACL injury last year. Thomas Sorber has the unfortunate fate of tearing his, I believe, ahead of this season. But so we're not going to see the rookie contribute. But other than that, like you said, OKC, it's kind of the same deal plus Topic. I don't think any free agent additions, just another year. Yeah.
Who do you have next?
Next, I have the Rockets.
Okay. That plays. I think with my two and three, I feel like they're pretty interchangeable. I have to go with the Nuggets there, but let's talk Rockets. I love the Rockets. Obviously, was my expertise being in Houston for the last 5 years. So obviously, I was really close with this team. I was, tied into some of the conversations with the Kevin Durant trade happening. Super interesting. And there's awesome last year. Like this is a team that's like always going to crush in the regular season because they're super deep. So injuries aren't really going to mess them up in the regular season. They're really young, so their guys play back to backs, and they're just really good. Like the starting lineup is just like Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, who was insane last year. Now it's Kevin Durant slot into small forward instead of Dylan Brooks. Like what an upgrade. Jabari Smith Jr., who has just been awesome. incredible starter. Like he's just a really, really good player. And Alperen Sengun at center. Like that's just like an awesome team. Devastated Jalen Green is gone. That take is like going in the toilet so fast for me. I'm still holding out hope. I think he'll put up fine stats on the Suns, although we'll talk about them, we talk about them. But ultimately, yeah, this Rockets team is awesome. KD's gonna be so good for them. He's exactly what they need as a fourth quarter closer. And I love this team. I'm very excited to watch them this year.
Yeah, after seeing Sengun these past few weeks dominate for Turkey, go back and watch the 2021 redraft video. Man, Sengun, I think, is a future MVP candidate of the NBA, possibly even an MVP winner. I think this guy's the future with Wemby. It's not Chet and Wemby, it's Sengun and Wemby. I'm a Sengun diehard. I think he's gonna keep improving, and like you said, Kevin Durant will pair, I think, really nicely with him. Capella is was added, which was an interesting move. They went big a lot of times. So you got the Adams.
Capella's not touching the floor. Capella will not play for this
Yes, he
team.
will.
It's a good 15th man shout out though, if anyone really wants to hear about like, the bottom of the bench for this team. But yeah, they did sign Capella.
They did sign Capella. They signed Dorian Finney-Smith. I think Capella is like as good as Steven Adams, and they like to go big. Like that's a good 15 minutes that he'll get. But
I don't
we'll
think
see.
so.
Okay, okay. Dorian Finney-Smith is a cool defensive minded, can shoot forward. JD Davison also had the Celtics cut him. Unfortunately, I was so excited to finally see him get minutes, but
Was that the Summer League MVP guy?
he was the G League MVP.
Sorry, that's what I meant.
JD
My
Davison.
apologies. My apologies for the
Uh,
disrespect.
at like 22 years old. But anyway, he's not going to touch the floor. Maybe actually because they do kind of have a shortage of guards, but we expect, I think, Reed Shepherd to
Our
step
boy.
up this year, and that's going to be an interesting thing to see. And then obviously, they have Fred VanVleet. Um, yeah, I think Cam Whitmore might be the only. I mean, obviously Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green went in the trade, but I think Cam Whitmore also is the other player to leave. I think he is a Wizard now.
Yeah, essentially all that is to say that they're just really stacked right now. Like not only is like the starting lineup really good, but the bench goes super deep. Like Tari Eason's just like this insane defender who would probably start on most teams, but he's coming off the bench for them. Reed Shepherd, we obviously had him insanely high in our draft. That's essentially been proven right every time Fred misses a game. Anytime they had him play in the G League, he just immediately dropped 50, and they were like, this guy's way too good to play here. So I'm excited to see him play as well. I think the Rockets are, although I have them like three here, very easily could add them two. And they may be number one as far as just teams that I am excited to watch this year because they're going to be awesome. It's going to be so sweet. So I love this team. I'm super excited. I kind of wish I should put them higher just because I love the Rockets. Probably should have put them at two, but I think it's somewhat interchangeable with Nuggets. So
I think my love for Sengun propelled them to two, but I was very indecisive between them and the Nuggets. And ultimately, I see those three teams, the Thunder, the Rockets, and the Nuggets, as the three true contenders in the West. I think, things can happen, but those are the only three I can realistically see um, winning the championship. So.
I agree. I definitely think there's a tier drop off after those three. There are definitely still some frisky teams. Like it feels like everyone after three, like essentially like I feel like 4 through 8 is going to be like pretty tight there. We'll probably see the same thing we saw last year where we see a bunch of, 48, 50 win teams there. I don't know, anything else you want to say about the Rockets or should we go on to Nuggets then to kind of close out this top tier?
I'll say Amen Thompson's name. I mean, people are so hype on him. It'll just be interesting to see how he continues. I think people are more hype on him in general than I am. I still have some questions, but he is the freakiest athlete, and just a dog. And like, I appreciate his game so much, but, um,
Yeah, everybody in Houston is like, they're already like, this guy's a superstar. They're like, he's a superstar right now. We wouldn't trade him for anybody. Like when Luca got traded, they were like, we would not trade him for Luca. That's the sentiment around there where it's like they would not trade him for anyone. He is untouchable. He is awesome. The ceiling is crazy. Don't know if he's like completely untouchable, but he is insane. And like I do see the upside potential and he's already like a fringe all-star kind of player. If he gets any kind of jump shot, he's an immediate elite superstar.
Yeah.
And even without the jump shot, I think he could still be a superstar. It's kind of just like a smaller Giannis.
It's interesting. Yeah. I still haven't like fully wrapped my head around him, I think. Um,
He's so unique because it feels like in the league right now that everybody needs to have a jump shot to be good, but he might just be like so athletic and
right.
crafty and slippery that he might be like one of the few that can still be a superstar without a jump shot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, anyway, yeah, we can jump over to the Nuggets. So who you have two.
Yeah, and for me it was pretty close. I kind of just like what the Nuggets did around the edges. I'm like this team's still just like elite with Jokic. Like they're gonna win a ton of games. He's awesome. The MPJ for Cam Johnson trade, I'm excited about it. I think Cam Johnson's just like such an awesome winning player. Super efficient three-point shooter, nice defender, really great size, smart player. I mean, like MPJ was awesome. I liked him, but really it was just like a great money move where I feel like with Cam Johnson, you pretty much get everything you got out of Michael Porter Jr., which is like the height and like great knockdown shooting. But you also just get a little bit more cap space then, because essentially Cam Johnson's making like 20 million a year, nice bargain contract. I think MPJ was closer to like 40 million per year. And then the Nuggets actually like spent this additional money. So they went out and they got back some of the guys they like. So they got back Bruce Brown, who like had been nice to them in the past. He's now back on the team. And then they also signed Valanciunas, which I think was like a pretty nice signing, just as a backup center. I know they had to persuade him not to retire and go to Europe, but sounds like now he's going to stay and play. So they got some good backup depth there. And also just like a buddy for Jokic because apparently they're friends. So I like that. I feel good about it. And the team's just like a little bit older. It's like, Christian Brown continues to improve. Murray's healthy. Aaron Gordon is incredible. Like still just like such a good trade by them a couple of years ago to get him. So it's a team I like. I think the depth got a lot better. I think they kind of just like polished up things around the edges. And this was still an elite team last year that, took the Thunder to 7. I think they got better. I think they might just grab the 2 seed, but I think it's close with the Rockets.
I think it's super close too. And for a while, I kind of thought, okay, Rockets might be the better regular season, but Nuggets, I think, might be the better power ranking team. I kind of just said, I think Rockets are better on both fronts. Anyway, perfect offseason. I totally agree. I think Valanciunas was just the perfect. That's something they've been missing for so long as a good backup center.
Yeah, they had DeAndre Jordan for years, and it's like, what is happening here?
Yeah, insane. Yeah, because it was like I think DeAndre Jordan was on like the Lakers on the bubble team, and it was like I was like, this is the end of his career. Yes, he gets like a ring before retiring. If he just felt so washed, and he was. I'm sorry, DeAndre Jordan, and then he's like still getting minutes. Um, uh, but Tim Hardaway Jr. I guess also um signed with the Nuggets, which is maybe the least important of the players that signed. But yeah, all around
Yeah,
incredible
good note though.
offseason. Yeah, just
Yeah,
more
just like
shooting.
totally. Yeah, that does not hurt at all. Yeah.
And yeah, Cam Johnson, I second everything you said. Um, I had watched this podcast with JJ Redick. And yeah, I don't know. He's just a super smart guy. He's kind of like the classic like three-point shooter who has like the insane attention to detail, the work ethic. He notices the intricacies of people's jump shooting, and he was talking to JJ about the way his shoulders turn and blah blah blah, which I was very impressed by, and is in stark contrast to MPJ's podcasting career, which is more like Nelk Boys and
This
um,
podcast is incredible though. The
yeah.
collaboration we all need is us and MPJ or MPJ and Nelk. That'd also be great. Maybe MPJ and Netanyahu, perhaps. Who knows? But these would all be great.
I mean, they're one degree of separation, the whole degree of separation from everyone. The Nelk Boys talk to, yeah, maybe let's not go down this route, but yeah, MPJ is right there. He's having an insane off season with the people he's hanging out with and the quotes, but it's so funny that the Nets, they drafted all these rookies, and it's like Cam Thomas and MPJ are your vets, guys. And we're building a beautiful culture. Anyway,
Fascinating roster. Yes. But Nuggets. I'll just say great move by the Nuggets. Like we love this move to go get Cam Johnson, who just also has a beautiful shot for him. Like his shot looks pristine. So great player. Awesome guy to have for the locker room. Love the move. Love the Nuggets.
all right, we have 3 minutes left in the Zoom session. Do we send a new link or do we
Yeah, new link for
new
sure.
link? Okay. will
Yeah,
be.
we talk about these like top teams a little bit more. So yeah, we'll catch you on part two. All right, back for part two. We are on to team four. So hopefully this is not five parts. But for team four, I kind of had fun with this one. I don't know you guys here. I put the Spurs here. That felt pretty fun for me.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. Who do you have?
I
Not
would,
the
like
Spurs?
you said, 4 through 9. I could have any of these teams anywhere. No, I didn't have the Spurs, and they actually fell a little bit for me. I had the Clippers.
Okay. I have the Clippers at five, so I'm not too far on that.
Okay,
Let me talk Spurs though. I got Spurs
talk
at four
Spurs.
though. Let's hit it. You can kind of give why you may have some reservations for the Spurs. There are plenty of reasons to have reservations around this team. Um, Really, my big reason is Wemby's awesome, and we're due. We're due for at some point for him to get in a full season and essentially just destroy the Western Conference. He's so good. I think at any year he could just leap and become the number one player in the NBA. It very well could be this season. That's the reason to put this team that high. Everything else is kind of secondary, but the secondary things would be that they traded for Fox, at the trade deadline last year. Him and Wemby didn't really get to play together at all. So you get those two together. That's two all-stars. Fox is really good. And then you kind of have like some young guys who are like pretty interesting here. You get Castle, who had a really nice rookie year. You drafted Dylan Harper, who a lot of people think is incredible. Immediately there were talks of, oh, do the Spurs need to trade Fox now because Harper is going to need to play big minutes? Probably not. They'll probably keep both. So they're gonna have like Dylan Harper essentially coming off the bench, who could be awesome coming off the bench immediately, gives them really nice depth too. So I think it's interesting. And then they got some nice guys to fill in the gaps around that. Vassell's a nice player. Barnes is good. Sohan. So I think it's an interesting team with some good young guys, and Wemby could be the best player in the league.
I mean, yeah, it's a convincing argument. Um, I guess I'm not as convinced with everyone outside of Fox and Wemby, but it is true after kind of getting a glimpse into Wemby's offseason. He's training with monks. He's training with Hakeem Olajuwon, Kevin Garnett. Um, I feel
He's
like,
gonna break out the Dream Shake, and it's gonna be insane.
my God, and Wemby just continues to be the most charismatic. He just seems like just the perfect human. Just he's intellectual, he's curious, he's like training with the Shaolin monks like is so fucking sick. Um, I'm so proud to be French, even though we are so different. But yeah, no, I always root for the Spurs, but Devin Vassell, is a great player who is still on the Spurs. Kelly Olynyk, I would love for him to be more healthy because I think him and Wemby could just be like such a fun and just good front court pairing. I think that would just make a lot of sense, both offensively and defensively. Um, but in recent years, he hasn't touched the floor much. Um, and
They
yeah,
notably signed Luke Cornett, though, also another Celtics legend. So they do kind of have some nice center depth if they want to play zone with Wemby or just when Wemby comes out. I think Cornett and Olynyk can hold down the fort. Cornet's
sure.
awesome. I miss him big time
Yeah,
already.
no, it is too bad to lose Cornette, and he's just going to add to the great vibes I think that San Antonio are building. But yeah, I guess my thing is like they're a team in the West. I think they're going to win 45 games, probably even maybe a bit more, get close to 50. But yeah, in the West, that could be, seventh, eighth, even maybe the ninth seed. Um, the Sohan experiment seems to not be as good as we hoped. That's kind of an interesting thing. And then the starting lineup, you're probably still going to have Harrison Barnes in there. They kind of lack wings. Um,
Yeah, that's a fair take.
yeah. Keldon Johnson's kind of undersized. And so I don't know. They still have some pieces to figure out, but they'll be so fun. And it's still a super young team that I think in a few years are going to, have built something really special. So.
Yeah, I agree with the lack of forward depth. I still remain to say just Wembanyama, putting them at four. But where did you have them? Because I think it's totally fair to have them lower.
Yeah, they ended eighth for me. which, does feel a bit low. I think they were as high as 6, but yeah, they did end up falling 8. And I said, hey, 46 wins seems kind of where they'll be. They won 34 last year. Obviously, Wemby missed a lot of games. They added Fox, and he ended up missing games. So, I think,
Yeah. Yeah. And it feels like one of those things where it's like very well like the answer maybe somewhere in the middle. Like they may end up just being like 6. And like that would kind of like split the difference between us. So we'll see. I do think that's their range of outcomes. I think I kind of have them at the peak, the highest possible end of outcomes. You have them probably towards like the lower end. And then assuming Wemby's healthy, things are completely different if Wemby gets hurt again. But I think it's totally fair. Okay, I think we go to Clippers then because you've got them at 4, I've got them at 5. So we both like them. You've always loved the Clippers though, so feel free to just rant because I know you love this team.
yeah, I was so in on the Clippers last year, thinking that they could even make it as far as like the Western Conference Finals. I might be on record saying that. The Kawhi situation makes things interesting. I mean, he was
Yeah.
bound to miss a lot of games. Um, but yeah, keeping an eye on that. But that aside, and assuming he'll play, they just have a really good 1 through like 10 or even 11. There are a bunch of boomers. I think John Collins might be the youngest guy on this team, and he's born in 1997. So it's an old team. They got a few guys born in the 80s. But yeah, the depth is really good. Like if you're gonna be an old team, at least have a lot of old guys to rotate in and out. They have Harden obviously as the point guard. You got Chris Paul, Chris Dunn backing him up. You've got Beal. You've still got Bogdan. Kawhi is your forward. Derek Jones, John Collins, Batum, and then you have Zubac and Brook Lopez as your center. So that's 11 guys. I just said all I think still able to be good rotational players. So
Yeah. Yeah, this is still a good roster. I think the biggest question with it is when do the wheels fall off of this? Because it's coming. They might have 2 more years left. They might have 1 more year left. It might be up. It might be over. It could happen at any point. It's pretty much just like once one of Harden or Kawhi hits like the inevitable like end of career wall where their careers end up looking more like CP3s right now or even like Brad Beal's. Um, that's kind of when this thing will be over. But yeah, you're right. Like as of now, they kind of beat anybody and a guy off where you're like James Harden, Bradley Beal, Kawhi Leonard, Brook Lopez, Zubac. Like it's like, oh my God, they've got so many guys, but also really old. And we've kind of seen this a lot with super teams where it's like, are they super teams? Or do they have a lot of guys who were really good and they're now like 35 to 40? So I still have them 5. Like I think they'll still be good. I think it's still like they're fine last year. They were good last year in the regular season. I think that will remain the same. But I feel like it's gonna be one of those things where it's like each year I'll kind of put them like a little bit lower in my standings rather than like a little bit higher. I still think they're essentially their championship odds are getting worse as things progress. And the Beal thing's really interesting. I'm not sure if he'll be good. I think he'll be good. I think he'll be fine, is what I should say.
yeah,
But he could just not be. It could
I,
just be the same thing as the Suns.
I think he'll be fine. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he fits in, if he's willing to maybe come off the bench, because I think defensively there's kind of some questions if you have Harden and Beal as your backcourt. Um, you have Derek Jones and Chris Dunn, who you want to kind of offset that and how they are as defenders. So, but yeah, Beal's still a good player. He's not a great player. In his mind, he might think he's a bit better than he actually is. But for all the shit he gets for not living up to his insane salary on the Suns, I think he still put up 18 points on decent splits. So it's not too bad.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, we'll see what this one. The John Collins signing is also so weird. I'm like, I can't believe this guy's on the and you
I
can
like
tell by
it.
looking at the roster that like me too. You can tell by just looking at this team that Steve Ballmer is just not afraid to spend. Like they just have quality NBA players up and down this roster, as you mentioned. So I think Steve Ballmer will kind of always just give them a chance by using his checkbook.
Steve Ballmer makes the rest of the owners in the NBA look broke.
Completely. He's awesome, which is why I'm like a little torn over the Kawhi thing where I'm like, I'm kind of fine with it. Like, I like that he's
No,
like
that
willing
wasn't
to
my
pay
point.
Kawhi money. Like, he's an awesome owner. He built him a brand new kick-ass stadium. He's the man. He goes to every game. He's super vocal. He pays these guys. I think he's an awesome owner. I agree that like there probably needs to be some kind of punishment, of course, if there was cap circumvention. But I do think he's a good owner to where like people who are like, oh, we should be forced to sell the team. It's like, no, he just built them. He's awesome for the league. So I don't want to be like missed in all of this. I still kind of like Steve Ballmer.
If you have a net worth of like $100,000, I think him spending $50 million is the equivalent of you spending $40. He's very, very rich.
He is.
He is likable. I mean, he's not like, I mean, being that wealthy makes you automatically kind of unlikable, but he is passionate about the Clippers. He does a lot of, I think, outreach and he flew in the fans for the playoffs where they lost in Game 7, ironically. But he is a very passionate basketball fan. He's willing to spend a ton of money. And his backstory is like kind of all right. He was like, I think, the CEO of Microsoft. It's not like he was
Mhm.
some investment, like, I don't know. It's somewhat ethically, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's not like he just like inherited the team out of nowhere.
Right.
Um, it and like he's just like a super involved owner. Like I think obviously this scandal kind of changes things. So like prior to this, like if you just like ask somebody who the best owner was in the NBA,
Maybe too involved.
right, right. But I think prior to the scandal, like most people would say like Steve Ballmer was the best owner in the NBA. No one else was out there just like building a brand new stadium on their own dime for
Right.
their
Nobody
team.
else can afford it. For him, it's nothing. I think there are billionaire owners, but he's worth like 120 times.
And I think that makes him a better owner. If you have more money to spend, that makes you the better owner.
We see how Harry values people in this world.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
that's my take. That's my take. Yeah, the Clippers are interesting. I think 4 or 5 is kind of about appropriate for them. Kind of right outside that tier of like not championship, but like they're going to be good. Could be frisky in the playoffs. Probably going to lose to a bad James Harden playoff series, but such
that's
is
kind of
life.
the other thing is like, it's kind of stupid because I keep blurring the lines between power rankings and standings, and I kind of just pick and choose which one.
Right.
And like the Clippers, I'm like, come playoffs, I'm not very confident about this team at all. But like, I think they'll win 50 games. But in the playoffs, I'd probably take the Wolves or maybe even the Spurs,
Yeah.
upsetting a team, in that 4 or 5 range. So anyway,
Yeah, and it's about these older teams where it's like after playing 82 games, like the playoffs are like pretty taxing. Usually somebody's hurt by then. These younger teams tend to have a little advantage in a situation like that. So I think speaking of younger teams, I think we go to 6 here.
I have to say my fifth.
Sorry, my God, give us your
My
fifth.
my fifth is the Timberwolves.
Cool, they're my 6. So beautiful. Let's talk Wolves.
Um, where to start? I mean, Anthony Edwards is kind of he's improving every year. We see the playmaking. We see that he's like the second best shooter, I guess, in the NBA behind Steph Curry, maybe. The Julius Randle thing seemed to have worked out to some degree. Um, and yeah, they just seem like a very solid, they seem to be in a solid place with maybe some depth issues. And we know who Julius Randle is, so it's maybe not super convincing, but um, I think they are kind of a 4 or 5, 6th seed, even though I think some other teams I could have them swinging a lot. I think they're solid.
Yeah, I will say the Julius Randle thing definitely worked out better than expected. Is
Right.
he better than Karl Anthony Towns? No, but he is cheaper, and he did play fine for them, and he was actually like pretty good in the playoffs. He had like a couple like monstrous games there, so he definitely got the best version of Julius Randle last year. Seems like a pretty good fit, kind of having him as a secondary ball handler, especially when there's not another center who needs touches. Like Gobert is totally cool with being left out of the offense. Mike Conley is really old, also okay with being left out of the offense. So it does kind of make for this very acceptable 2-man game within the Timberwolves offense. So yeah, I think that worked out nicely. They didn't do a ton to really change this offseason, but I don't think they really had to. They extended Naz Reid, which was like huge because Naz Reid is awesome. So I'm glad they did that. I'm glad he got paid. Very worthy, especially when their depth is like a little bit questionable. And then Dante is interesting. Dillingham's like very interesting, like potentially not good, but got the big question mark here is speaking of old guys, Mike Conley feels like I kind of thought last season this thing was over. I was like, okay, he's like probably retiring this offseason. He is not. He is still their starting point guard according to the depth chart. Don't know if that's going to change. I kind of feel like I would just start DiVincenzo and be like, all right, like Edwards, like you're effectively point guard now. You can run the offense. Put DiVincenzo in there for just some 3-point shooting off of him and a little bit more energy. If Dillingham ends up being good, then like start him, but like probably too small to be a starter, especially at this point in his career. But I do think that there is room to maybe make change at the starting point guard position. But other than that, it's kind of the same team. Their defense is going to be really good. They're still young and energized enough to where they should be beating out a lot of these other teams here too. So I think six is a fine spot, but they could end up being like a little bit higher, kind of like that. As we kind of said, they may be a little interchangeable with some of these other teams. They could end up being better than Clippers and Spurs. So we'll see.
Yeah, I penciled in Ant and Dante as the two starters because, yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
Mike Conley can start. Um, but the depth is actually very concerning. Um, you're betting on Dillingham, um, and we're naming the deep roster here to not get called out by anyone, but Terrence
Right.
Shannon Jr.,
Joe Ingles.
Joe Ingles is still on the team. Jalen Clark is a young guy that is kind of interesting, but none of these guys I think are actually particularly interesting outside of Rob Dillingham. Um, you know,
Somehow we're still going to get called out on this one.
yeah.
There's gonna be
Um,
some G leaguer we didn't mention that they're going to get us on.
or maybe they drafted someone that I'm forgetting.
Well, yeah, especially as far as like the bench goes. I mean, like we didn't really talk about like Jaden McDaniels. Like he's been like kind of nice and improving for them. So like maybe there's something there, but doesn't help them with depth. Like he's a starter.
Yeah, no, I think it's Ant, Dante, Jaden, McDaniels, Julius Randle, and I think there's actually kind of an interesting conversation between Nas or Gobert to start. Um, because yeah, I mean Julius Randle and Gobert kind of makes sense as starters together, but Nas
I think
really
so too.
is the best player out of those three. I hate to say it.
Right. Maybe the best
Um,
player on the team. Is he better than Anthony Edwards? Can we
no.
have this discussion? Of course
Um,
not. But Nas Reed is awesome and the fans love him. I'm sure they have some kind of like behind the scenes like transition thing mapped out because I don't know how old Gobert is right now, but he's probably like 32 would be my bet.
yeah, I'd say he's
So
over 30.
yeah, we may be like slowly approaching like where Gobert might get a little bit old. And when that happens, then they'll kind of make that transition. But I think for the time being, he's such a good defender. He still immediately gives you a top five defense when he's out there. So they'll just start him until that's not the case.
And he's looking ripped, man. There's the off-season
Always.
workouts. I think he worked with someone. I think he worked with like Lethal Shooter or one of those like
All
Instagram.
right. Well, we probably shouldn't be doing that. That's kind of a lost cause.
But
Gobert's 33, by the way. 33.
oh, okay. But yeah, the bench is either, I mean, we'll assume it's Nas, but it could be Nas or Gobert, and then it's Rob Dillingham, and then it's the player they drafted. I forget Terrence Shannon Jr., Jalen Clark, and Joe Ingles. So it's the depth is
Yeah.
really concerning. They lost Nikhil Alexander Walker. They lost Garza and Minot to the Celtics,
Mhm.
who we noted Josh Minot could be an interesting guy. But yeah, the depth is pretty atrocious for
Yeah, they need to call the Rockets because like the Rockets did like a sneaky good job not only of like getting Durant, obviously, keeping their young guys, but they also just like went out and like kind of poached like a bunch of like veteran minimum guys that like other teams wanted to keep. Like them grabbing like Dorian Finney-Smith and Capella, who they don't totally need, was like a total power move. They essentially just took them off the market from other teams, and like a
yeah.
team like the Wolves would really use them. So that's kind of interesting. A little shout out to like the Rockets front office for doing that, essentially just like kind of messing up the free agent market a little bit with that. But yeah, the Wolves could use a trade, and if anybody gets hurt, like it's just gonna be rough. So we'll see. But I think that's why six is a good spot for them.
Yeah. So they were fifth for me behind the Clippers. Um, my six was the Lakers.
Yeah, Lakers are my seven.
Okay.
So yeah, we can go Lakers right now for sure. I think like the most interesting thing here is like they went out and got Aiden as a free agent, which is fascinating. Kind of like it. I think it's a good signing. I don't know if he'll be good or not because obviously the Blazers thing was super weird, but I also just like kind of wonder if when he got moved to Portland, he was like, I don't care about this team. Like this team's not trying to win right now. Why should I? And he did have like a pretty good run for the Suns early in his career. Um, so I kind of wonder like do we get that version of DeAndre Ayton who is like a force to be reckoned with during their run to the finals, or do we kind of get that Ayton we saw in his final year with the Suns, then with the Blazers? It's probably gonna be somewhere in the middle, but I think he is gonna be like a very serviceable starter for them, and I think they'll get good minutes out of him. I think he'll be a double threat. I don't think he's gonna be like a great defender, but I think he'll do a fine job down there. So I think pick and roll with like him and LeBron and Luca is gonna be good. So I kind of like that signing, but still at the end of the day, like having them at 7, the West is really difficult. This team doesn't make like a ton of sense outside of some of these guys, but who knows? It might end up working out
Well, there's no one else to start in his place, so um,
for sure. Yeah.
but I mean the Blazers, that was, not an inspiring group to be with. I think Ayton maybe is not an inspired player. Not a lot of people to set him up there, and Luka and LeBron are incredible playmakers, so that could definitely help. Um, Luka, best shape of his life. I think that whole thing is like so overblown, but I mean,
They say it every offseason. Every offseason they're
they
like,
do,
"Oh,
but
look at skinny Luca," and it's like, "All right, can I see him in an NBA uniform?
it's
Let me see him standing next to LeBron, and then I'll determine if he's in great shape."
it's definitely been a dose more this offseason. And he does look, a bit slimmer, but um, you know, we'll see anyway. I guess we expect the starting lineup to be Luca, Reeves, LeBron, Rui, Ayton. They had some interesting additions and like Luke LaRavia, Marcus Smart. You still have Connect, Vanderbilt, Kleba. So the depth isn't great. They lost
It's
Dorian
interesting though.
Smith. Yeah,
Like, it's kind of one of those things where I kind of know like there could be something there. Like, does Marcus have any juice left? I don't know. It was tough to tell the last couple of years, but I feel like he could still be scrappy off the bench. Like Vanderbilt's always been pretty good. Connect, I'm not totally selling my stock on. Like, I think he might be fine off the bench. Bronny James stepping
I
up.
didn't
We'll
mention
see.
him.
He was actually low-key really good in the G League last year. He did show flashes. Like, I don't think he's gonna be a rotational player yet, but like he was overhated last year for sure. So I think the depth is fine. But I almost just feel like the puzzle pieces don't like quite go together. I just like kind of like see players even on the bench in the starting lineup where I'm like, I don't totally know how they play together. I think like specifically like I don't know. It's just like LeBron is definitely like aging, and I can't really tell if his team is like trying to win one more time. They probably are, but I also kind of feel like this team is getting ready to move away from LeBron, and they're probably already starting to plan behind the scenes like how they make the transition to like a Luka focused team. And I think that probably like just muddies things a little bit. And I already know this offseason there was kind of discussions with LeBron like not being super happy about Luka being prioritized. I think those are all just kind of rumors, but it doesn't totally feel like there's like a championship team right now for whatever reason.
No, yeah, and I agree with that. And ultimately, Luca with those Mavericks teams, I think we've seen better rosters or very comparable at least. With Kyrie, when they made the finals, obviously, um, they had Gafford, Lively, some other interesting pieces. I think comparable in terms of guys to this year, and they won 50 something games and 52 games maybe, and they lost in the finals. So this team doesn't feel much better than that team. Um, and yeah, there is kind of this weird transitional point. Um, but I think they could win just shy of 50 games. I think Luca is as fucking insane. He was lighting up EuroBasket, and he was insane coming back from his injury last year. Um, and I'm sure he did take this offseason a bit more seriously. I mean, he was playing for Slovenia, and before that, I'm sure he was training kind of hard. Um, so the Lakers are going to be fun, and they did
Yeah.
an acceptable job in the offseason.
Yeah, and there still is like an ultimate counter argument for any Lakers fans out there, anyone who's bullish on this team, just to be like Luca and LeBron together. Austin Reeves is also just incredible. Like he's super
Yeah.
good. He's like legitimately a fringe all-star guy. Aiden could be really good. Like on paper, this team actually does look really good. Like I said, it's like it just feels like the pieces won't gel the way they need to. But There is potential here, and this team is gonna be really fun to watch. And obviously, Luca alone is capable of carrying a team to the finals. So, still not out of the question. Like, even if they end up being like a low regular season seed, that they could still just make it to the finals because Luca and LeBron. So, who knows? Who knows with this team?
Yeah.
It'll always have a puncher's chance, though.
Love Marcus Smart, one of my favorite players ever. Jared Vanderbilt, I think, is a guy people forget that he's a pretty good player. He's just been
Yeah,
weirdly a lot of lingering injuries, but um, he's just like a rebound monster and a hustle guy. Um, and can no, he doesn't really stretch the floor, but he can. Like it's not like he's completely devoid of a jump shot. So anyway,
yep.
I think we feel the same way about the Lakers.
Yeah, we have them about in the same spot. We've been like actually like very lock and step with our teams for the last couple. So after the Lakers would be you have another team at 7
Yeah.
before getting to the Spurs at 8. I'm kind of curious to know who you have 7 because for me after like 7 and the Lakers, this is where things kind of fall off for me, and I'm like I don't think any of these teams have a chance to even make it to the finals. But give me the team you have at 7, and maybe still feel the same way about them, but
Yeah. It is a very interesting team.
you definitely have the Trailblazers here for fun.
No.
Okay.
No, it's the Mavericks.
All right. All right. I don't hate that.
Obviously, Kyrie is injured. D'Lo, I think, is going to step up as their starting point guard. Then you have PJ Washington, who might start, or Klay Thompson, maybe. You have Coop, who I think is generational, and I think is just going to be a regular season juggernaut, basically. You still have AD, you still have Lively, Gafford, Najee Marshall is on this team, Max Christie is on this team, Dante Exum
Najee
on this
Marshall's
team.
awesome.
This team is extremely deep, even given Kyrie is out for at least, I think, half the season recovering from an ACL tear. AD, I don't know what his injury status is. I think he had something towards the end of last year. I don't think he's going to play a ton of games, but I don't think that matters. I think people are forgetting with how injury ridden they were last year that this team has a really deep roster. And I think Cooper Flag is enough in himself to keep this team afloat. And then if Kyrie and AD come back, then that team is stacked and could really, I think, upset teams come playoffs if they're healthy.
Yeah, you've convinced me. I just moved them up one spot. I'm tempted to even move them up one more spot, but I'll kind of leave it as is for now. But yeah, I agree. Like this team's got awesome depth. Flag is potentially going to be insane immediately. Like he very well could average just like 25 and 5 his rookie year, especially with Kyrie being injured. That essentially just opens up so many touches for him to essentially be like the primary ball handler for this team. Because now obviously they signed D'Lo to run that point guard position, but I still think they want Flag to be the primary ball handler if he's ready for it. And then D'Lo can be a nice off-ball shooter. Same with Clay. AD is obviously awesome. Then you're right, like the depth here is just like really nice. They got Gafford on like a really nice deal to like keep playing backup center for them. Um, Najee Marshall, you mentioned, he's like sneaky, like really good at basketball. Like the dude is just like an elite scorer.
Love Najee
He's so
Marshall.
good.
An elite
Yeah, it's like
passer, good
yeah,
defender.
he's
Not
just
an elite
awesome.
passer, but he is a good passer. He's someone that, in the midst of their injury-ridden period there, was not injured and he was dropping like insane triple doubles. Like,
Yeah, he's awesome. So I think you're right. I think the Mavericks are at least like a play-in team. I guess where I have them now is well, you have them 7. Where I put them on my list would be like 9, but I could definitely see a world where I put them 8. And I am tempted to do so right now. But yeah, this is a good team. And like Anthony Davis is still elite. He's still easily a top 5 center in the league. Top 3 probably. It's like I don't know who's above him. Like Wemby is above him. Jokic is above him.
Sengun is above him, in my opinion.
We'll see. That's more of a projection, I would say. But like anyway, like Davis is like right around that 3 mark. Still elite, still a superstar when healthy, still first team All NBA every year, elite defender. So yeah, this is a good team. I like that take. And yeah, I think I probably should bump them up one more spot. I will. I'm bumping them up one more spot. All
Let's
right, I'm putting them at 8. I'm putting them at 8.
And they're
I think
huge,
I think that, I
man.
think that's correct. I think that's correct.
They have a lot of
Yeah, they
defensive, lengthy, PJ Washington, Coop, obviously. Najee Marshall is tall. Exum even coming off the bench. He had that kid Brandon Williams who was kind of insane in their injury-ridden moments. Jaden Hardy's a guy I like. It's crazy, man.
Jaden Hardy I'd listed as kind of like
The 15th.
the 15th man that someone might get mad at us for not mentioning in the comments. So Jaden Hardy mentioned, there you go. Maybe this is breakout year. Definitely not. He sucks, but we'll see.
But
All
yeah,
right, I've got them at 8 now. Cool. That works. That works for me.
very cool. Should we move on? I mean, yeah, Mavericks in short, I think there's a lot of elasticity there, whether they but come playoffs, if they're healthy, man, they could be, I think, right behind the Nuggets in terms of where I see them. But
Yeah, and like, and the only other thing to note is like, although unlikely, it's like it's probably not like completely out of the question that Kyrie could be back for playoffs. And if Kyrie's back, like it kind of changes everything if he still looks good. I think that'd be a really tough timeline for him, but
no,
it's not out of the question this
I think it's
early.
possible. He must have torn his
It's
ACL in maybe like March or something. I don't remember, but um I think I don't know. He could be back. Yeah,
Let's
even
see.
a couple months
Yeah, it's like
before those.
apparently like an optimistic return would be like July 2026, and playoffs would be a little bit after that. So a couple months after that actually. So like in theory he totally could be back for playoffs, but like that's also assuming like a really quick
No,
and
July
pain-free
2026 would
recovery.
be after the playoffs, right?
That's a yeah, January though.
Oh, January.
January
January,
2026.
sorry.
So that'd be like start of the year. That's like around like All-Star break.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Um, yeah, and then
Yeah.
if he takes a few more months, no big deal.
Yep, exactly. So I still think right there in the standings is correct. But if they get Kyrie back for the playoffs and he looks good, like they could beat anybody. Like the team would be stacked all of a sudden. So it's still insane that Cooper Flag fell in their lap like this. They do not deserve to have him. But Kyrie, Flag, and Davis with the depth of this roster would be formidable.
Yeah, absolutely. So they are seventh on my list.
Yep, they're
Um,
they're now 8 for me. Who do you have 8 then? Then we'll be
so
essentially be
eighth was the
caught up here.
Spurs.
Okay, yep. Okay, so we're both on to 9 now. I have the Warriors here now, essentially after bumping them down a
I
spot.
also have the Warriors here.
This is officially where things get gross. This is where I get to like, I don't want to watch these teams. And I love Steph. This might be the first year where I'm like, I have no interest in watching the Warriors. This team sucks. This team is terrible, which is like crazy to say. I think Steph will still be able to carry them to a ninth seed, but he's starting to miss more and more games as he gets older. You've got Jimmy Butler there, who's actually still a really, really good player. But then like outside that, you're banking on like Buddy Hield, Pajemski. You've got a couple of these young guys that like they were really banking on like Moody and Kaminga that they really just like haven't gotten the quality of play out of that they wanted to. Draymond's still there, but like also pretty old as well. Uh, Uninspiring team. Not into them.
Yeah, even though they had some kind of really nice moments with Jimmy
Yeah,
and Draymond, it's crazy to think they beat the Rockets in the playoffs.
that's
Um,
crazy. Like I cannot believe that happened.
I
But
can't
I
believe it
think
either.
I think it was one of those things where they said Steph Curry against a super young team with no playoff experience and no fourth quarter closer. So I think it's how it happened. It will not happen again this year.
No, I agree. This team is a huge question mark. Um, but it's like, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler. It's funny because I'm arguing this and I have them in the same spot as you. But Horford is a cool addition. The Kaminga situation is so strange. I think it looks like he's gonna,
They have no choice but to keep him, even though they're essentially keeping him benched in the doghouse.
right. But I think there's kind of the two roads here are either he accepts a 2-year deal and becomes basically a trade pawn for them. I don't know how much he would make there, or he takes a 1-year deal and becomes an unrestricted free agent. And I think we still don't know the answer, but I think it's, maybe the difference of $10 million. So
Yeah, ongoing
short
dispute.
term.
Regardless, not great for just Kaminga vibes in Golden State. Feels like that situation has been like slightly mismanaged a little bit. It kind of felt like Kerr
Oh,
pulled the plug on him unnecessarily early for whatever reason. Like the GM just seems to not like him at all. But by all accounts, he's still like a very interesting prospect and has put up really good stats when given a longer leash and more control over the offense. Albeit the efficiency is never like quite there. But It feels like they just never gave him a chance after a certain year. I felt like he was like this really interesting prospect, and then all of a sudden one year they're like, "Nah, we're done with this. Like he's not going to play anymore." There's gonna be games where he's just straight up like a coach's decision did not play.
Yeah.
I think they did that in the play-in, right, where they're just like, "Yeah, you're not playing at all, Kuminga." Um, so super weird. I don't know about that situation, but bad for the locker room vibes.
No, for sure. And it just kind of seems like it's because he wants to get in there and score, and he'll kind of look off of Steph Curry, who's like the golden boy, and rightfully so, but everything kind of has to run through Steph, and that pisses off Kerr, I'm sure, when Kuminga takes a pull-up jumper instead
Yeah, yeah.
of
But also, like, you do need that second guy to develop in this team. It can't just all be Steph. Actually, it probably could all be Steph shots,
right.
actually. So, you know what?
I still love Kuminga, man, and I really just cannot
I
wait
think I,
to
I think it's
find a
interesting too.
home.
Yeah.
But and I've beaten that horse to death. Um, But yeah, it's interesting because Butler arrived late after kind of being disgraced by Miami, and I think there's kind of the rose-tinted glasses where they got Butler at the end of the season, and the defense was great, and he was pumped to play for the new team. But it's like, okay, now you have to play a full season. There's no way he's playing more than like 55 games, and this
Yeah.
team is
And
gonna,
probably same with Steph. Like they're gonna have like a 30 game stretch here where it's like they're both hurt and it's just like Pajemski and Buddy Hield and it's like just a disaster.
yeah. They have like they have all these young guys that are like don't have very high ceilings, but they're kind of okay, like Moody and the Dutch guy, Quentin Post had some interesting moments.
Yeah.
This is the
People were
15th
like,
man I'm naming. Trace Jackson
yeah,
Davis.
I was also gonna name Trace, where like it feels like every offseason, like the Warriors are like hyping up their like late first or like second round pick. I think, you know, Trace Jackson Davis was a prime example last year where he was like really hyped up and like kind of went high in our fantasy draft. And I was like, this guy
Really?
sucks. Like, what's happening here? Yeah, he went like 80th overall. And I was like, what
Oh,
is happening?
yeah. I think because they had like no center. And I think it
Yeah,
was
but the
his
guy, the
second
guy just
year.
wasn't good.
Yeah.
So
I think Tim drafted him.
yeah, I was someone who was new to the league. Yeah, I was gonna say AP, but I guess that's yeah.
No, Tim made the finals, Anyway,
Fair. Okay, yeah, I think we're kind of running out of time here, so I think that's Warriors talk, and then we can go to part three
yeah.
for like this absolute disaster of a final six teams.
But we agree, yeah, that it's going to be hard for them to stay afloat, and then ultimately, if they're healthy in the playoffs, maybe they can beat a team in 7 games, whatever. But with how deep the West is, it's going to be very tough to not be a play-in team, I
They're,
think.
yeah, it's like playing's best case scenario, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say there's no chance in the first round because they're gonna get stuck with Thunder, Nuggets, or Rockets in round
Yeah.
one, and it's not. They're losing in four, maybe five.
All right. Back for part three.
All right, we are back for part three. I grabbed a beer for this part. This is my favorite part where we talk about essentially the bottom tier NBA teams. I was going to promise we go through them a little bit faster. We're not going to do that. I love talking about these teams. Anyone who's still listening, you are true ball lovers. I'm sure you guys will also enjoy listening to these teams, their rosters, what they're going for. So we're essentially getting to 10 here, which would be the last team in the play-in. I think there's a couple like kind of exciting teams here, unlike the East, where it's like
Yeah.
in the East, it's like we're already done. Or it's like, I don't know. These all teams are all they would all be tanking in the East already. Whereas I have the Blazers here at 10, which I think is correct. I imagine you do too.
I kind of had a hot take, but
Ooh,
I wanted to put the Blazers 10, but I think I have a hot take. I also just
give
want
me
to
your
point
take.
out, I just want to say real quick that 1 through 8, or 1 through 9 even, we were very similar. You had,
Totally.
you had
It
the
was literally just the
Spurs,
Spurs flip.
it
Yeah.
was the Spurs flip, but I think everything else, it was just bumped down a tier. Uh,
Yep.
so shout out that. Okay, my 10th, it's the team you least expect, I think. Not out of all of them, but the Suns is who I think
Oh,
will finish 10th.
they have Booker.
They have
Jalen
Booker.
Green breakout. Is this the Jalen Green breakout?
It's the Jalen Green breakout year. I got to scroll
Let's
very far
go.
down to see what my notes are on the Suns. Do we talk Suns or do we talk Blazers? Because actually, I'm happy to talk a lot about both of them. I like both of these teams.
Me too. I guess we do Blazers first, just because
Let's do it.
why not? But like, I really want to talk about the Suns take. I don't know. Never mind. Let's talk the Suns. Sell me on the Suns. That's the spicier of the two. We'll get to Blazers.
So yeah, the starting lineup I expect to be Devin Booker, Jalen Green,
Yep.
Dylan
Yep.
Brooks,
Hmm.
Nigel Hayes Davis.
Okay.
This is I do this every year, guys. This is a
You're
EuroLeague guy.
losing me a little bit.
So he's a EuroLeague guy. Um, one sec. Coming over to the NBA, and I did this with Vizenkov. I did this with Misic, and I was brutally wrong. I'm 0 for 2, but I think this guy, Nigel Hayes Davis, is better, and he's kind of a 6'7" forward. I think he did play in the NBA a little bit before. He is American. Um, but he's just like he's a very good shooter. He's I think a decent defender. He's like a 6'7" forward. Um, I don't know. He's crafty. He's not super athletic, but I think he'll kind of slot in as a starter for the Suns, um, and be good. So yeah, I had to do it, guys. He's the yeah. And then Mark Williams at center. If he stays healthy, if not, Maluash is the rookie I am extremely hot on. Who after our redraft, I kind of went back and looked at, and I was like, this guy is even better than Yang Hansen. I love Maluach. I think he's going to be a good to great NBA center. So I'm hyped for that. The bench consists of Royce O'Neal, decent. Jared Butler, who I think is just a super rated NBA player. Um, Sixers point guard who played really well in the disaster season they had. Nick Richards, Grayson Allen, um, Ryan Dunn, who people were hot on for about a week because he shot super well, but then that plummeted. So I think it's a fun team. I think they're getting a fresh start, and I think Devin Booker is an incredible player that we shouldn't overlook.
Yeah, I'm like looking at my rankings and I'm like, yeah, I'm like maybe they'd be
Maybe.
better than some of these teams, and I'm like maybe they're not. I'm like I don't know. It's like a lot of these teams are. I think a lot of them are interesting, which is cool about the West. Like a lot of these like bottom of the barrel teams, I kind of look at their rosters and I'm like I can kind of see something here that keeps them from like not being like bottom two. The Suns are definitely one of those teams where I think you're right, where it's like Booker is awesome, superstar status. Like as far as like these like bottom six teams go, Booker is the best player out of any of them here.
All
So
right.
that has to count for something. Like that's definitely huge. The Mark Williams edition, I think was like pretty nice. Like the Lakers thing was so weird how they didn't get him. Like I think that was kind of fucked up. But I think he's a nice addition for this Suns team. But I don't know, man. But this Suns, like everything just like
Jalen
collapsed
Green,
here.
bro.
I
You,
love Green, but it definitely feels like redundant skill sets with like Booker and Green, where it's like they don't really have a distributor. Green
yeah.
needs the ball in his hands. He's not efficient, but are you going to make him be the point guard and have Devin Booker spot up shoot? No. So you're gonna have kind of Jalen Green hucking off of Booker, and I could see that being not great. But obviously, if Jalen Green becomes the player that a lot of people thought he was capable of when he went second in that draft behind Cade, that changes things dramatically. If we do get the Jalen Green breakout, he is poised for it here because he will get the second most touches on this team. So it could happen, and if that happens, I do think they end up being higher. And you're right, like the depth isn't nothing on this team, but I don't know, man. It's like they were bad last year. All they did was essentially like lose Durant, get rid of Beal, which is a plus, and then kind of like clean things up around the edges. Brought in the Rockets additions, but I don't know. I think the water's poisoned on this team. I kind of think they're just ready to. I kind of think they need a restart. I know that you can't get rid of Booker and you have to keep trying to make it work, but it feels like the new ownership came in, essentially just shot this team and not even the foot, like just shot at the chest, nuked this team, and I'm like, I kind of just think you need to start over.
It feels like a bit of a mini refresh reset. Um, I think
It is. It is.
what I like
Continue.
is the defense was so non-existent, and I think this roster has a bit more of the defense. Dylan Brooks is a good defender. I think Maluach is an incredible defensive prospect, and Mark Williams, Nick Richards, they have kind of the big man depth. Um,
Yeah.
I totally
And
agree with the Green Booker thing, but you know,
yeah, and I've always really liked Mark Williams. Like I'm excited to see Mark Williams on a new team. obviously he kind of has his injury issues when he's playing. He is an awesome player, but yeah, I don't know. I really just don't have a take. I'm just like I have them 14. So for clarification as to where I have them,
Oh,
I have
wow.
them as the second worst team. Yeah, I'm just like I'm out. I'm out. My only notes are it's Jover. I'm like that's just it.
I guess a slight spoiler is that I kind of had um, Suns, Blazers, Grizzlies, Kings in kind of this tier below the 4 through 9. And then for me, I think the Pelicans and the Jazz are in like the dog shit, no chance tier. But
And
I know
that
your
you
reverence
you
for the
know you know
Pelicans.
how I am with the Pelicans. Like
Right.
every year I have the Pelicans like 5 because I just look at their team and I'm like this team's awesome. And I kind
Mhm.
of did it again this year where I was like this team is like probably gonna be the worst team. But then I don't know if it's Pelicans time yet. I might do my little Pelicans rant here already, where I'm like, I just look at this roster and I'm like, wow, there's just so many really good NBA players on this team. Why isn't this team good? And it's like, well, the ownership kind of sucks. The coaching isn't good. Zion's always hurt. We'll kind of get to them after the Suns, but yeah, I have the Suns 14, and I love the Pelicans.
So
Can't
I
help
guess
myself.
okay, we kind of flipped the Pelicans and the Suns. It seems so it'll, or I guess no, technically we didn't. You had the Blazers 10, but um, yeah, I just feel like the Suns, Blazers, Grizzlies, Kings. Those are kind of my frisky play-in teams. Whereas the Pelicans and Jazz for me, dog shit. So, Blazers. We talk Blazers real quick.
Yeah, let's do Blazers. Blazers are they should be a very good defensive team now, where it's like they went out and they traded for Drew Holiday. Trading Aiden essentially opens up the center position for a lot more of like Klingon, potentially Rob Williams a third if he's healthy. Shaden Sharp is a guy who I always just like look and the eyeball test is like Sharp is like potentially amazing. He looks so good. He's
Oh,
one of the bounciest guys in the league. Pretty decent jump shot on him. I think the efficiency is still something that like needs to come along, but he's sneaky awesome. And I could kind of see this being his year where he steps up, leading scorer on the Blazer, crushes it. You've got Avdija, who was obviously really good last year. Kind of a head scratcher that the Wizards just got rid of him. He was a promising young guy, and essentially the Wizards gave him away for free, and the Blazers hit a home run on that one. And then they also have Kamara, who's like a potential defensive player of the year candidate. He was awesome last year, like definitely like he'll be up for an all defensive team next year probably and potentially for the next couple of years. So the starting lineup is good. I like it. Then on the bench you've got essentially Scoot Henderson. Don't know how much there is there actually, but I don't know. Grant is pretty good. Thibul's a good defender. I think the defense is going to be good. I think the defense is going to be good. And then yeah, I think Shaden Sharp and Avdija are going to be nice and be able to carry this team on offense. So I kind of got them as like exactly that fringe play-in team, but I think they're exciting. I'm excited to kind of see if this comes together. Weirdly, they're like one of the teams I'm more interested in watching compared to some of these other ones.
I totally agree. And if they were in the East, I think I would have them maybe as
They
high as
they'd be
fourth,
like
fifth.
yeah, they'd be in that like Pistons tier.
Totally. Um, Avdia is a very, very good player. I think he's potentially an all-star level player. Um, he destroyed France with the Israeli team in EuroBasket, which was a bit humiliating. But yeah, he is a dominant. Okay, dominant. He had a dominant performance. He was incredible for Israel, and he's just a very, very good player. I think he's the star of this team. Um, and with all the players you mentioned as well, obviously, I love my boy Yang Hansen. I don't expect him to be
Mhm.
much this year, but I like him as a prospect. Um, and like you said, yeah, like a starting lineup of Holiday, Avdija, Sharp, Kamara, Klingon. That defense is
Yeah,
scary. The
Clingan I'm very
shooting.
excited about.
I'm still very, very high on Klingon as well as a prospect. I think I'm super high on Klingon, I will say.
Yeah. Yeah. And like just like Holiday's gonna be awesome for them. Yeah. As we kind of saw with the Celtics, like he's not the scoring threat he once was, but he was also the fourth option there. Like his scoring probably will go up a little bit. He might get back up to 15 points per game on awesome defense. I was just checking stats and like Shaden Sharp sneakily averaged 19 points per game last season. That could take another jump. He could be doing 20 plus.
Oh
Like I said,
yeah.
the efficiency wasn't great, but like he's gonna score a lot for them, I think. And then as you mentioned, like Avdia is like he is just like a do-it-all small forward where he can shoot, he can play make, can rebound. Defense is fine. Like it's not bad. So yeah, he's exciting. I think just like the thing that still just irks me with the Blazers is Scoot. Because a lot of people are talking about Scoot last year and they're like, wow, Scoot is like so improved. Like he looks so good this year. And it's like, No, he doesn't. He was not good last year, and he was a second overall pick. I still firmly have him in bust category until proven otherwise. I'm not sure why people feel differently about him. Not a fan.
Yeah, no, it's incredible the hype he got out of the draft, and how yeah, and that's still bleeding into the narratives today. And it's like, wow, he got Drew Holiday, Chauncey Billups. He's got all these Hall of Famers around him. Didn't they? There isn't there one more other point guard in the conversation? I don't know.
I
Anyway,
don't know.
and as Scoot, he's going to develop and I think he'll continue to improve. But yeah, like I don't
You
think
know
he.
who we're forgetting about? You know who the other point guard is? Damian Lillard.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I mean he's surrounded by like these all-time great point guards.
Totally. But it also means like next season he's not going to play at all. Like obviously this upcoming season he'll still play off the bench behind Holiday. But once they've got like Holiday and Lillard and Scoot, like there's probably a good chance like Scoot could be just out of the rotation.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
he'll prove us otherwise this season, but like
yeah.
that could be where this goes.
No, he's a good playmaker. He's an above average athlete. But ultimately
Is he?
he doesn't have yeah, but we expected him to be an elite athlete and he's like a
Hmm.
slightly above average athlete. Like it's kind of amazing how
I don't even think I've ever seen this guy dunk. It's like insane. Like I think people expected him to dunk like Westbrook, and it just wasn't the case at all.
yeah, kind of a weird maybe Mandela effect or I don't know what the deal is
Hmm.
there, but um yeah, very excited about this team. Uh Klingon, yeah, I think could be a borderline all-star in the coming years. I don't see him as a superstar, but I think I see him as like a very solid starting center. Um, and Yang Hansen will be a big reason I'm tuning in. Any minutes he gets, man, I will be tuning in with the rest of China, um, you know, to make.
Yeah. Yang is very much the cherry on top as to like why this team's gonna be awesome to watch. Because not only is it just this fun up and coming team after being really bad for the last couple of years, but then like when the bench unit comes in, it's like boom, Yang Hansen's out there, and he's gonna be so fun to watch.
Oh,
So this team's awesome. This team's really high in like my teams. I'm like stoked to watch this year. Like it's like Rockets are one. Weirdly enough, like the sicko in me like might put Blazers number two as the team I want to watch the most of the Western Conference.
yeah, yeah, I might be there with you. But sadly, because they play in the West and they are at the far end of the country, they play so late. They basically play in the morning. So I don't know if I'll be
Hmm.
tuning in. But yeah, and I think Yang Hansen will maybe get some minutes just because Klingon weirdly isn't like a big minutes guy. And our boy Time Lord tends to not play much. So, maybe
Yeah.
we'll see some Yang Hansen.
Yeah. All right, cool. So what? I've got Blazers at 10. You have them at 11, right?
Yeah,
All right. So my 11 then is the Grizzlies,
yeah, that makes
who
sense.
kind of another fringe playing team. The way I did this is I was like, they still have John Morant, they still have Jaren Jackson Jr. Two really nice players there. This is a team that was like consistently the two seed in the West for like a year or two, and things have just completely fallen apart for it. They traded Desmond Bane this offseason. They got some nice assets back for it, but clearly that was like a little bit of a waving of the white flag where they were like, this thing's over. We need to do a mini rebuild. They thought there was a ceiling on this team that they weren't going to be able to get past a certain part with the roster as constructed. So they did a little mini blow up here. I do think having Ja and Jaren Jackson Jr. makes them like a little bit exciting, but ultimately, like the roster's like really, really bad outside of them. It's like the starting lineup is like potentially like outside of Morant and JJJ, it would be Kentavious Caldwell Pope, Jalen Wells maybe, and Zach Edey at center. And it's like, God, I just don't know if any of those guys are even rotational players at this point, let alone starters. They do have Aldama, who I like. They've got Clark, who was hurt last year, but should be back. And then they got Ty Jerome. They signed Ty Jerome, potential nice sixth man there. But like ultimately, they just don't really have starting players outside of Ja and Jaren Jackson Jr. They got draft picks back from the Bane trade, so I think it's a mini rebuild year for them.
Yeah, crazy because they won 48 games last year. Um, but yeah, I think the Bane trade is going to affect things. John Morant, it'll be interesting if he plays a lot of games. This is definitely a frisky team. You can't write them off. They drafted Cedric Howard, who we both enjoy, so maybe
Yeah,
maybe he'll find his way into the starting lineup.
there's certainly room for him. If he can do anything at the NBA level, if he can just play defense or if he can just shoot, if he can just do one thing at like an average level, he probably should start in this team.
And
But he's an older rookie, so I think that potentially bodes well.
no, I like him. We both I think really like him. There's some other interesting names on this roster. I mean, there's Scottie Pippen Jr. Ty Jerome made his way to the Grizzlies. Um, Cam Spencer's a fun player. Again, I'm being
Is he? Is
he
he
is.
fun?
He talks shit to everyone.
All right, all
Um,
right.
and Gigi Jackson is kind of just this
Mhm.
interesting guy who
GG is good.
we haven't really seen it pan out, but he kind of has the tools there. But um, yeah, they're frisky. They could make the play in for sure. Maybe as high as 7 or 8 if things really go bad for some other teams. But
Yeah, and you could almost argue they're interchangeable with the Warriors. Like I could totally see this team still be better than the Warriors. So that means I could see them being as high as 9 potentially. But I think to be over other teams, I think something catastrophic would have to happen.
John Morant has had some stuff. He's had the injuries, he's had the off the court, but he is a phenomenal player. So
A, a lot of people are selling John Morant stock. That's some buzz I've heard in other podcasts where they're like, yeah. The conversations are starting where people are like asking the question. They're like, can this guy stay healthy? Is he a winning player? Like, do you want him? I mean, obviously, we saw them be the 2 seed one, so it feels like he can be, but I do think there are like serious injury concerns right now because it has been a couple years now since John Moran has had a healthy season.
mhm.
So it's something that was like, has the league kind of forgotten how good he is? Partially, yes, but he is also just this insane injury risk now.
But the injuries are strangely not to do with his legs, which is, I think they've been shoulder related. So who knows? Anyway,
Yeah, we'll kind of see with that, but Jaw's still like electric and super exciting, and like the Edie thing could still be fun. Although I think we kind of saw, you know, what it is last year. But I feel like 11 is fair. They could do better though.
mhm.
They're not totally hopeless right now. But I think mini rebuild and they could be back.
Yeah, no, agree. And like you said, they got some nice assets back, so that's not out of the question.
Yeah. Okay. So what you had them at? I had them at 11. Does that mean you had them at 12?
Yeah,
All right. And then who you have at 13? We could do that. Would
I
that be your?
went Kings 13.
I also have the Kings at 13. I've got the Pelicans one spot above them. Let's do Pelicans. Let's do Pelicans, and then we'll be caught up at 13 with Kings.
Okay.
Pelicans, I look at the Pelicans and I still just see guys that I like is my problem. I'm like the Jordan Poole trade was like super weird. I think it was kind of a salary move, but like Jordan Poole was kind of nice last year. Trey Murphy, awesome. Every single NBA team wants Trey Murphy. He feels like somebody who could potentially be an all-star at some point, potentially this season, now that they traded Brandon Ingram. They still have Herb Jones, who is an awesome defensive player. They've got Zion, who's never healthy. But if he's healthy, this team is like looking pretty good. They look good on paper. And like the center position is like a little bit of a mystery now. I guess it's like Yves Missi, who's not that bad, and they potentially could do small ball Zion at center. So I think that's okay. And then like the bench has like interesting guys. It's like they've got Jeremiah Fears, who they just drafted really high. Looks really bad in summer league, obviously, but they did draft him really high. They've got Jordan Hawkins, who they took out of UConn, I think 2 years ago. He's actually always looked really good when he's gotten the minutes. He's just like a good shooter, quality
Yeah.
player. They've got Sadiq Bey, who can play NBA minutes sometimes. And then I think probably the big question mark here is like Derek Queen, who they traded a ton of assets for. And there's a little bit of a hole at that center position, like I mentioned, where Misi is, who's good, but you could definitely do better at that position. And if Derek Queen ends up being awesome, that kind of changes the trajectory of this ball club. The big issue is I kind of agree that I don't think Derek Queen's going to be all that, and they gave him a lot. There's an unprotected first round pick on the line for this team next year, so at least they're going to try to be good. Like they're not going to bottom out and tank because they don't have their pick next year. It's unprotected,
All right.
so they're going to try to be good. They're going to try to get Derek Queen in there immediately and try to make this team frisky. Um, but we'll see. Like I said, I don't have them that high, but there are interesting players here. I think Zion Poole, Trey Murphy could be something.
I want to remind you that Trey Murphy tore his labrum in like March.
Fuck. I think
So
he'll be okay though. Like he'll miss some time,
he's gonna
but
miss at least a few months, I think. I don't know what a
will Trey
labrum
Murphy
is, to be
return?
honest. What is a labrum?
I believe it's in your shoulder.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. And
Let's see.
DeJounte
Return
Murray is
date is
also
unknown. Yeah, DeJounte's a tough one. It's crazy that they made that trade knowing DeJounte was done for the season,
no.
of course, after tearing his Achilles.
No, he
I mean
got.
the Queen trade.
Oh, okay, okay.
Because obviously DeJounte had torn his Achilles like far before making that
Right.
Queen trade. So it's insane that they made the bet that they weren't going to suck this upcoming season, knowing already
No,
that
it's
DeJounte Murray was done.
yeah, it's like inexplicable.
Honestly, this Trey Murphy thing changes everything for me.
Okay.
If he misses time, I do drop the Pelicans another spot.
Trey
So
Murphy is
and he's for sure
awesome.
going to. He's their best player. He's their best asset. So I will be dropping them below the Kings now. I'm going to keep them above the Suns though. Fuck the Suns.
No way. And we had a Suns fan last year who gave us a bunch of shit, and he was wrong, and we were kind of right.
Oh yeah, he got dunked on so hard. He was all over the Suns, and we were like, this team sucks, and we were right.
But this year I got you, but I got you, homie. But yeah, there are still some interesting pieces, like you said. I don't have much to add. I'm not hot on Derek Queen. I like Yves Missi as for what he is, but yeah, I'm not super hot. Herb Jones. I don't know if you mentioned Kevon Looney
I did not mention him, and
and
I think it's okay not
Matkovic.
to. That's
Matkovic,
also
anyone?
fine. Funny enough, I did have Matkovic down as my 15th man for the Pelicans fans out there who might get mad at us for not mentioning Matkovic.
Double double
Um,
machine, but like 10 and 10 in like
yeah,
6 minutes when no other player is healthy last year. So
yeah. So you know, I had the team at 12. I just bumped them down to 13. So it's not like I'm like insanely hot on them, but I don't know. I like the Pelicans. I
that's
can't help
okay.
myself.
The heart wants what it desires or something like that.
I think so. Yeah, I think we can move on though. I think we can go to Kings now, where you have them at 13. I've got them now at 12. They just went up a spot, so potentially huge for the Kings. This team is now the Chicago Bulls. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's actually insane that it's just like they have just like Levine, DeRozan, Keegan Murray is still there, who's like not that good. Monk was like kind of good. Sabonis is still kind of good. Essentially just their own version of Vucevic, who's like a little bit better. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like maybe we should have them in the play-in just because like that's where the Chicago Bulls live. But this Chicago Bulls team was a play-in team in the East, so like that
Right.
makes them a non-contender in the West for sure. It's just a gross roster. I'm just like so inefficient, so little defense. Like this defense has been just set on fire. I can't believe this team went from having Halliburton and Fox to just this. Just like essentially contracts that like teams didn't want. And it's like, okay. Like yeah, this team's and they signed Schroeder for like $20 million a year this offseason. Like this is just is this may just be this may be the most poorly run team in the NBA.
Yeah, no, it's really bad. I don't really even have much to say. I don't want to talk about them particularly. I know people are weirdly hot on their rookie, Nick Clifford, who's like pushing 24 as a rookie. Um, Not seeing it, guys. I know this, you just need a hard reset, Sacramento. I'm sorry. You're kind of in the frisky tier. I mean, there's some talent on this roster. Malik Monk is awesome. I mean, Levine, Sabonis, these are good players, but
A lot of like 83 overalls in 2K here. Obviously, Sabonis a little bit higher. Sabonis is a really good player.
he is.
But now he's just like stuck rotting away on this team.
Yeah, and he's kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say empty calories, but he kind of is this guy that like as good as he
Him,
is, it doesn't seem to translate too much to winning.
yeah, it seems like him alone is not enough. And like you can't forget like the Kings did have like one really nice season, like beam
Yeah.
team time. Like they were awesome that year. Sabonis was really good on that team. It feels like though that he's not enough and that he can't be your best player. Like the team's just not gonna be that good if he's your best player. He's probably like an awesome third player, a good second best player. Can't be your first guy. That's just no.
Yeah. Especially
All right.
defensively. There's um Keon Ellis, that's a fun player.
Is it cool hair though? Yeah,
They're the Bulls. They're the Bulls of the West.
they're the Bulls. This is probably gonna be the worst defense in the league. Okay. I think we can move on. I think that's the Kings.
Just depressing. Yeah.
So depressing. So depressing. Yeah, they need a hard reset. They probably need a new owner. Also, it's saying they fired Mike Brown too a couple years ago. Like he was an awesome coach. He went from coach of the year to fired within 1 year. Like they just don't know what they're doing from a management perspective. And now Mike Brown's on the Knicks and he's probably gonna be awesome. So yeah, the Kings suck. They're the Bulls. Let's move on. You had them 13. Who
Yeah.
do you have? Who do you have 14? And 14 is your Pelicans, yeah?
14 is my Pelicans, and it
Yeah.
leaves me with the Jazz at 15.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And then Pelicans, I'm Suns at 14, and then Jazz to wrap things up. I think the Jazz are the only team actively tanking in the West, so like naturally they go here. They're kind of fun. Like I'm excited to watch Ace Bailey. I think that was a really
Yeah.
nice draft pick by them, even though he didn't want to go there. I think that was pretty savvy of them. They still have Filipowski, who's like pretty exciting. Walker Kessler, I'm into. They still have Markkanen. I'm not like totally sure what the plan is with Markkinen, but it might be one of those things where they're like, Markkinen's really nice and he's okay with being here, and we can still tank with him on the team and it all works out. So why not just hold on to him? And if we get the first overall pick and get a generational talent, all of a sudden we've got generational talent plus Ace Bailey plus some nice young guys plus Markkinen, who's already an established all-star caliber player. All of a sudden they're back and they have a real team. So I kind of don't hate them holding on to Markkinen right now.
Yeah, I think that's a fun, interesting point because I think everyone's just impending trade coming, but yeah, maybe they'll kind of wait it out. I don't think that's
Yeah. And I don't totally feel like they need more picks. Like I like some of the young guys they have. They're just missing the guy.
yeah.
And obviously a trade comes up for a guy, then all of a sudden that changes things. If there's a team who's trading a superstar and they're like, we want a couple young guys and Markkinen, that's different. But I don't see a world where they just dump Markkinen for like salary and picks. Like I don't think that would happen. Because yeah, I think there could be interesting things here. Because I mentioned like Bailey and Filipowski, but like they still have Cody Williams, who they drafted in the first round the other year. Didn't look great, but he's still young, notably brother of J Dub. So there could still be some J Dub in him. Bryce Sensabaugh, legend. Like
Thank you. I was
the
waiting.
dude knocks down every three. He's awesome.
Uh,
I wish that he got more minutes.
he
There's this guy
will.
on TikTok I follow,
Me too.
Pablo Escobar, who's just like obsessed with Sensabaugh, and I totally get it. Um, so I hope he plays more because I'm like all about it. Somewhat of a meme, but like I'm super into
I
it.
forget what he was calling it. Like it's something like sensible. He had a play on words, like sensible fever or something. Uh,
Yeah, I have it though for sure.
but I caught some summer league games, and he's way too good to be playing in summer league, which you see a lot of times with um, really good sophomore players. I'm not even sure if he's a sophomore. I'm pretty sure he is, but I'm very in on Bryce Sensabaugh as just like a very good NBA player, rotational piece, elite shooter. Yeah, Bryce Sensabaugh I think is a very underrated, unless you're Pablo Escobar, player on this team. I think he's one of their best young prospects. So
Yeah, this will be his third season, but yeah, he's still a young prospect, awesome shooter.
how old is he?
Yeah, he's kind of I think he was a little bit older when he was drafted, but regardless, like
He's 21,
just like okay, yeah, yeah,
going on
nice and
22
young
very
then.
soon, very soon.
Yeah, and like yeah, he's just got like just a super clean jump shot. Like it feels like the guy could be an elite 3-point shooter. We'll see. It's kind of one of those weird things where it's like maybe there's a reason he isn't playing more, even though he was like showing some promise. But we'll see. He's still young enough where it's like, yeah, I definitely feel like there's something there. I'm excited about him. And our 15th man shout out here is Kevin Love. Kevin Love is on this team. So if
Not
any
for long.
Jazz fan thinks Kevin Love is making an impact here, or perhaps Svi Mykhailiuk, they're on the roster.
Wow. Okay. Any other notes?
Yeah, that's it for that. I mean, they also have just like other interesting young guys, County George,
Of
Collier.
course.
We didn't mention them, but like could be something there. But yeah, that's it. That's Jazz takes. And I think for the most part, like we had pretty similar lists. Kind of a
Yeah.
little bit different towards the end, but like for the most part, like essentially our 1 through 9 was the same except for the Spurs flip. So I think that means these lists are correct then. And this is exactly how the Western Conference standings are going to look. Potentially just like one or two different teams, but I
Yeah.
think we did it.
I feel good about it. I feel validated. Um, Guys, thank you so much. If you made it all the way through, if you listened at all, we appreciate you. We mentioned pretty much the roster at length. That's why this episode is so fucking long. So, but
Yeah,
keep the
shout
hate comments coming. Keep the engagement. I mean,
For sure. Shout out to fans that are giving us the hate comments, essentially forced our hands to mention essentially the entire roster for these teams. But it is kind of fun to get into the weeds with some of the up and coming players here. And yeah, just going through the roster is giving expectations. So if anyone has any hate to give us on behalf of their own team, if you think we ranked them too low, if you think we missed your best G League player and you're disgusted that we didn't mention them, let us know in the comments. And like we said, feel free to start dialogues, have conversations with other people who disagree with their takes. Just have fun out there. And thank you all for tuning in.
Yeah, God bless everyone. Thanks again. Peace and love.
Peace and love.